Hey everybody, it's GombaX, and Brawl is finally on Arena. It is a very exciting time for everybody. The Brawl launch event is going on right now. The only banned card in Brawl is Sorcerer's Spyglass. Other than that, you get to make a 60 card, basically, commander deck with any Planeswalker or Legendary creature as your commander for Brawl as a format. And this special event costs, I think, 1,000 gold or 200 gems. And for each win that you get, you unlock a card and a card style that are from the Brawl decks. So some decent stuff. You get Mace of the Valiant, Fairy Formation, Taste of Death, Embereth Skyblazer, and Thorn Mammoth. And you keep playing until the event ends, so there really is no end to it at all. Now, if you don't care about any of those cards, you can play Brawl for free through the Direct Challenge feature, and the coolest thing about that is that you can actually play Brawl with any card in your collection, even if it's not in Standard, in Direct Challenges. You just build it for the Friendly Brawl format, and then if you Direct Challenge someone to a game of Brawl, you can play with stuff from Dominaria, Ixalan, so on and so forth. So, the implementation of Brawl is very exciting right now, because for this first week, we get to play Brawl any single day in the event for Standard Brawl, and you can direct challenge anybody you want to Friendly Brawl. Of course, they have to challenge you back, so you can't just challenge LSD and expect them to play Brawl with you. But anyways, I digress. Let's get to the point of this video. Today I am playing with Nikya of the Old Ways. This is a red-green Gruul Smash Brawl deck. Pretty classic green-red aggro stuff. The most interesting thing about this deck is because of Nikya's ability, where she can tap your lands for additional mana, but you can't cast non-creature spells. Well, because we can't cast non-creature spells, we just say, okay, I'll just run absolutely nothing but creatures and lands. So if you're looking for a really basic, simple kind of deck to play, just classic red-green aggro playing nothing but creatures and smashing your opponent's deck, Nikya is a pretty exciting commander to go with, because once you get her on the field, you have nearly infinite mana to play around with. I mean, you're spending 5 to cast her, so if you have 5 lands out to play her the next turn, you're going to tap those 5 lands for 10 mana at minimum, and if you play a 6th land on that turn, you've got 12 mana on turn 6, which is really, really impressive. It allows you to cast late-game insane bombs like Endray's Forerunners and Drakuseth and stuff several turns early. So, that being said, I will have the deck list in the description. A short little deck tech on this deck is, since we're playing absolutely nothing but creatures, all of our ramp is going to come in the form of creatures, so that is the purpose of cards like Gilded Goose, Saruli Caretaker, Incubation Druid, Leafkin Druid, and Paradise Druid, Rosethorn Acolyte, Woodland Mystic. I believe those are all of the ramp cards that I'm running in this deck. Those are all to help us cast Nikya earlier, because obviously if we resolve a Nikya and she stays on board, we're not going to need any ramp from that point on, since she does that all for us. But in the early game, such as turns 1, 2, and 3, we are going to want to play some cards that could help us ramp into her faster. Now, the other interesting thing in our early mana cost is we have a couple cards that are in here to be kind of utility effects, because you don't really get that a lot on creatures, and since all we're playing are creatures, we're going to have to run some cards like Goblin Cratermaker so that we don't have absolutely no interaction with our opponent. Goblin Cratermaker can do stuff like destroy our opponent's artifacts, so he can destroy their arcane signets, he can destroy their Ugins even, with the destroy a non-land permanent that is colorless, and he can just kill off little creatures. We have most of our other utility creatures are going to be stuff that has to do with discarding cards to draw cards. So we've got Merchant of the Vale and Glinthorn Buccaneer as early game creatures that we can play out and just have on the board early, and then once we hit late game, especially with Nikya, they also double as mana sinks, that if we have a bunch of mana, we can now start discarding any lands that we draw to draw into potentially more creatures. And Immolation Shaman as well. While this doesn't discard cards to draw cards, it does have a really good ability for us to dump a bunch of mana into if we have nothing else to do. We could just spend 10 mana, give it +6/+6 in menace in the late game. Once we get to the middle mana costs, we do have a little bit more utility stuff. Thrashing Bronzetone to destroy artifacts and enchantments. And Beast Whisperer is obviously insane in this deck. With nothing but creatures, we're going to draw a card whenever we cast anything. But yeah, after those two cards, we just basically get into the high mana costs where it's all about playing gigantic stuff. We got Neheb as a 5/4 for 4, Opportunistic Dragon a 4/3 for 3 with flying. This is also kind of a utility card since it can steal one of our opponent's humans or artifacts. Nullhide Ferox, since we're not playing non-creature spells, this has absolutely no downside. It's straight up a 4-mana 6/6 hexproof questing beast. You've certainly played with this card before. Extremely good and aggressive for its cost. Same with Shifting Ceratops. Just big, fast creatures for their mana costs. We've got both the Cavaliers we can play, Cavalier of Flame and Cavalier of Thorns. They're both decent-sized creatures that also happen to fit in with the theme really well of this deck. Cavalier of Thorns fits in with the ramp theme by pulling another land out of the top few cards, and Cavalier of Flame gives us something to do with all of the mana we get from Nikya by buffing our whole field a bunch. Biogenic Ooze, another card that gives us a lot to do with our mana. Keeper of Fables can give us a lot of card draw since we don't get that a whole lot on our creatures. And yeah, Skarrgan Hellkite, another good ability to dump mana into. And basically everything after that mana cost is just gigantic stuff to kill our opponent. Shivan Dragon is huge. Bigger with the fire breathing. Aggressive Mammoth is huge. Feasting Troll King is huge. Ravager Worm, a little bit of a utility for how big it is, but mainly it's huge. Drakuseth and End-Raze Forerunners we've definitely talked about before. Game-winning bombs alongside God Eternal Aronis. So with the deck tech out of the way, and I will certainly have a link in the description to skip the deck tech if you do not care about that, let's get into some gameplay of the Brawl launch event. So, I have played a few games of Brawl, as you've seen. I did a stream of it. If you want to check out my streams when I'm playing live, that is on my Twitch channel of the same name, twitch.tv/GomletX. I will be playing basically every Wednesday. I'll be playing Brawl for sure. And other than that, all the other streams are pretty unscheduled because I have a relatively busy lifestyle. Also, a relatively lazy lifestyle, but anyways. My experience in the format has been honestly fantastic. I think it's incredibly fun. It's basically everything that I hoped for, and the fact that they implemented Friendly Brawl is just a huge upside. I had no idea they were going to do that. They kind of just dumped that on us out of nowhere, and that's probably the coolest thing that they possibly could have done. Just randomly said, by the way, if you friendly challenge people, you can play any card you have on Arena in Brawl. It does not have to just be standard, so that's incredibly cool. So this hand's pretty fantastic. We're going to start by just ramping things out. We'll play the Leafkin Druid since he's a little bit sturdier. We are against a Korvold Fakehurst King deck, so they're going to be sacrificing stuff and drawing a bunch of cards. But yeah, this hand's fantastic. We have Wildborn Preserver as a very strong way to spend all of our mana that we get out of Nikya. We also have Nullhide Ferox as an incredible play next turn. And Grumgully can put a counter onto basically every creature in this deck. I think we might have one or two humans, but for the most part, everything is not a human. The vast majority of things are not human, I should say. So we're just going to start off with a Nullhide Ferox coming out swinging on turn 3 thanks to our ramp creature. And Woodland Mystic, it's worth mentioning, is not actually in the regular M20 set. I think it's in one of the intro decks or Planeswalker decks or something, so you might have to craft it. I certainly had to craft it. So if you've never seen that card before, that would be why. So unfortunately we can't cast Nikya this turn. So I think I'm just going to drop Grumgully out there. Play a Castle Embereth tapped. And the reason is, regardless of whether or not I play a Mana Dork this turn, I will be able to cast Nikya next turn. So I think I will just use my mana on Grumgully first, that way when I'm playing my mana dorks, they get more counters and stuff like that. Wicked Wolf was definitely a pretty powerful play against us there. It stopped us from really running away with this game. If we had to resolve Nikya out, that would have been very strong. However, they are playing black, so they could have removal of their own. They certainly had a Wicked Wolf as removal, so maybe more green fight spells. Looks like they are going to get rid of Nullhide Ferox's Hexproof and Active Treason it with a Witch's Oven out. So they're going to sack our Nullhide Ferox to get a food token. It's pretty sad there, and now with that food token, they can put a +1/+1 counter onto the Wicked Wolf, turning it into a 4/4, giving it indestructible till end of turn. Basically whenever they need to. So that is pretty unfortunate. We are just going to dump Nikya out as a 6/6. We're going to need another Active Treason style effect or removal effect here. And if not, we should have a really explosive turn next turn. Next turn? That's speakage. Corvold is coming down this turn, which means they're not going to have any form of removal currently. So Nikya survives to live another day, which is absolutely fantastic. We are just going to go crazy in terms of mana here. I think I want to just play a really big Wildborn Preserver. That sounds like the most fun thing to do here. We could play a Shivan Dragon, but it's not going to have haste. So might as well just make the biggest thing in the world. That's what I'm thinking. Just the biggest thing in the world. So let's play this land before we play another creature. And then we're going to dump every single mana we can into Wildborn Preserver. Actually play Saruli Caretaker first, because that'll be even more mana to throw into the Preserver. See how much mana we even have here. It's a lot, I know that for sure. 9 mana. Well, let's pay X. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And have a 12/12 out there. Very nice. Very cool, Wildborn Preserver. So if I attack with Nikya, they could kill it if they trade with Corvold. Might be worth the attack now that we've spent all that mana there, because then we're just playing a Shivan Dragon after this. We don't really need the mana that hardcore. They may just be blocking with the wolf, sacking a food. And that looks like the play here. They don't want to trade Corvold for Nikya here, which I can respect. There's a Fabled Passage. Fabled Passage and Evolving Wilds, both fantastic cards in Corvold decks. Since they are lands you get to sacrifice for basically no downside, because they immediately grab another land. Certainly got a lot of options to think through here. They've got a full grip, all 7 cards at the ready. Ritual of Soot me down to just Nikya. That's pretty sad for us. It does not look like this game is going to go very well from this point on. The one-sided Wrath is a sure way to put things in our opponent's favor. I really can't speak right now. If I ever could before. So, yeah, it looks like we're about to just get destroyed by Corvold here. Corvold is quite a powerful commander, really good value engine off of his sack effect. And it allowed them to draw enough cards to have that Wrath at the right time. Just blow us out of the water here. We'll just play everything that we can. We can chump with a Shivan Dragon. We could also chump with a Shifting Ceratops, but then I wouldn't be playing all my cards here. I would rather dump out the Woodland Mystic. I think it probably would be better to just have held that green to give the Ceratops reach, rather than losing Shivan Dragon. But our opponent gets to draw like a minimum of 2 cards a turn because of Korvold. Korvold by himself draws 1 card a turn. The fact that they have Witch's Oven as well, and they're probably just going to chump block and sack something to the oven every turn, means they're drawing 2 cards off of Korvold and a third as their draw for turn. So I think there's just no way we're going to get around the amount of card advantage our opponent has. With our opponent drawing 3 cards a turn to our 1, it'll be really difficult to be able to dump out as much stuff as them. And Garruk Cursed Huntsman is definitely going to be the nail in the coffin here. Okay. Or not. So, they could have destroyed Shivan Dragon, and then I would be dead on board. But it looks like they decided to toy with me a little bit here and give me the tiniest chance in the world. We know what's in our deck, so we know we have 0 chance, but technically, who knows what could be top decked. But yeah, had they destroyed Shivan Dragon, we would not have had a blocker for Korvold, so we'd be dead on the spot. Either way, we are dead in the long run. The long run being 1 turn later. So, not the most impressive start for the Nikya deck, but I really liked how it played out there. I think our mana base looked really good there. Just a lot of utility lands alongside the command tower, and having the ramp cards early to cast Nikya early. I really like how our deck played out there. I think we just got destroyed regardless. I think that hand and the curve that we played out would be quite good, just in different matches. We'll see how it goes in the future. So now we're playing against Torbjorn. He is a mono red commander who makes all of your red stuff deal 2 extra damage every time it does damage. So this is probably going to be a classic mono red style deck here. So I'm a little scared we may just get outraced by this deck. One of the things I really like about Brawl so far, and I hope it keeps up, like I hope it never becomes super competitive. But yeah, one of the things that I like about it a lot is that you're going to play against a lot of unique decks if you hop into this event today or anytime soon. Maybe in the future people will just decide this is the best deck and I don't want to play anything else. But as it stands, you play against a wide variety of commanders, and it leads to being a really fun and interesting format. I kind of want to play Saruli Caretaker here and just play the Castle Garenbrig tapped. Unfortunately, Caretaker can't ramp up by itself. It doesn't tap for any mana by itself. That would be incredible on a 1 mana card, but now it at least makes one of our cards basically cost 1 less next turn at the very least. Because we could play Goblin Crater Maker and immediately tap it to the Caretaker to make another mana off of it. So if we do draw another 2 mana card, we could play two mana cards this turn. What did they just do? Shock 2 to any target. I guess they just double shocked us there. Light up the stage, revealing a Robber of the Rich and an Opportunistic Dragon. Wait, where is the... There's Opportunistic Dragon. There's Robber of the Rich. There's Torbjorn. Where did the skewer come from? I guess that was just in hand? I don't know. I may not be paying enough attention because I'm kind of confused. But that's okay. We can drop down Rosethorn Acolyte this turn, ramp up. If we draw an untapped land, we get to drop Nikya out next turn. That would be fantastic. If we don't draw land, at the very least we get to drop down Questing Beast, which is quite powerful. But ideally, we're going to draw land this turn. Ooh! Fabled Passage as the 4th land. And that will be enough mana. How much mana do I need to do that? 4 mana, so I could do that and just play Aggressive Mammoth instead. Just add 6 green and play Aggressive Mammoth right now. Which is cool. But I think Nikya's gonna be more impactful in the long run. I don't know, it might be worth the Aggressive Mammoth. 8 toughness is a lot. It would make it more likely to not just die immediately, but I think it's highly likely they were just gonna cast their commander this turn, as they did. So now we've got not actually all the mana in the world, because we only have 4 lands, but we do have 8, we have 9 mana. I could play Mammoth and Cratermaker. I really like Mammoth here, because I think just an 8/8 is going to be hard for them to kill, even with the additional 2. So we can play aggressive... That was a horrible way to tap, but that's fine. We can play aggressive Mammoth and then play Cratermaker. The auto-tapper always prioritizes the castle-type cards as the last things to tap, but we really needed a red mana untapped here. So that we would be able to just tap a land to play Cratermaker and save Rosethorn Acolyte to instant speed use Cratermaker in case they do something crazy with Krenko. Now I have to choose right now. They only have 2 cards in hand, but I think I am still going to shoot the Krenko. Ideally, I wouldn't be having to do this. Ideally, my Rosethorn Acolyte would be untapped, and then I would just hit it if necessary. So they'll have to double block to kill Nikya. So I think it's actually worth the attack here. We do 5 to their face, or we kill Torbran. Nikya will die as well, but I think Torbran is more important to their game plan than Nikya is to mine now that I have a Mammoth on board. With 4 mana creatures to follow it up with. And we can cast everything in our hand without Nikya. So I think offering the trades with Nikya is totally fine right now. And there's the scoop from our opponent. I think they just know, with the aggressive Mammoth on board, against a red deck where all their removal is going to be burn-based, they're just not going to have a way to kill the Mammoth alone, let alone anything else I was ramping into with Nikya. So that went pretty well. I was definitely a little scared at first, because mono red decks can have the nut draws, but since they had a little bit of a slower draw, and allowed us to get off the ground with Nikya, we were just able to play creatures a little bit too large for red decks to deal with. Heading into another game here. Playing against a Vraska Golgari Queen deck. Alright. This could be bad. Luckily, our commander is too high mana costed for them to kill with her minus ability. I'm really debating whether I should mulligan this. If I hit 2 lands, this hand's really good, but I have to hit 2 lands or I'm only casting 1 card. But with Haggle, we can discard one of our larger cards to try to draw into another land. I don't know, the first mulligan is free in Brawl, so I think I'm actually going to take it here. And this is a much better hand, actually. I'm very glad that I did that. Now we've got 2 different mana ramp cards. Granted, the Caretaker only ramps up with another creature. Oh my god. Guess we have 3 mana ramp cards. Anyways, our opponent's commander is Vraska Golgari Queen. The -3 destroys a non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less, which can be really good against a lot of commanders. Luckily, ours is a 5 mana commander, so it's not so good against us. And I forgot I had a 0 mana card in my hand, so I had to pass turn there, so my bad. Sorry, opponents. Let's go... play 3 mana worth of stuff here. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pay 2 life for this, because I don't foresee them being highly aggressive with Vraska as their commander. She seems like a really good controlling or mid-range commander. We're just gonna play all our mana dorks out. Now that we've got a Saruli Caretaker out, we can just use the Caretaker and tap the Goose with Caretaker for mana. So next turn we get to drop down Nikya of the Old Ways. It's very likely they will just have removal for her. But that'll be fine, because we can still cast everything in our hand. We actually, if they're just going to cast Vraska, we might just play Questing Beast. Depends on what ability they use. Alright, well now we have no choice but to just play Questing Beast. Because we can no longer afford Nikya anyway. But we probably were just going to do this anyway. If they just used the +2, I think we were just going to drop Questing Beast. Which is a fantastic card against Planeswalker commanders. Because we get to hit our opponents and their Planeswalker. Alright, so we do still need to draw another land in order to cast Nikya of the Old Ways. We could also just, like, make a food off of the Gilded Goose, just take a turn off. That would get us to Nikya as well. But I don't really like taking a turn off. Granted, next turn all we're doing is playing a 2-mana card anyway, so we would just play a 2-mana card and play a food. It all depends on what we draw here. And if we're just going to draw Bone Crusher Giant, we might just use Bone Crusher Giant to shoot the Midnight Reaper. And make a food here. Bone Crusher Giant, don't know if I mentioned it at the start of the video, another one of the really good utility cards here. Because obviously it's a creature, so we can cast it as a creature if we have Nikya out and we can't cast non-creatures. But if we can, we do also just have Stomp in this deck, which is a good card. So I'm just going to create a food token right now, so it doesn't ask me to do so later. Oh, I would have to tap Questing Beast to do that. Honestly, probably still worth it. But yeah, I forgot. Yeah, because we have to tap the Goose to make the food, so we'd have to tap the Goose and tap Caretaker and another creature, so... Oh wait, he's got Vigilance. He's got Vigilance! He's Keyword Soup the creature. If you can't tell, I have never played with Questing Beast before, but he just looks powerful at first glance. And if all you did is glance at him, it's pretty easy to miss one of the abilities. So he does have Vigilance, so we could have attacked with Questing Beast and used him to make a food. We didn't have to choose one or the other. I was under a false pretense there. My mistake. Golgari Finebroker. Going to return Midnight Reaper back to hand. Yep. They do have the mana to recast it, so they probably will. So I missed out on 4 damage on my opponent, which is pretty unfortunate here, but we do get the confirmed Nikya next turn. Since we have the food token of sacrifice now, and it looks like we needed it because we did not draw land and we drew an 8-mana card. So we're going to drop Nikya out. Pretty likely that they are just going to kill her. But on the off chance that they don't, she will be incredibly helpful with our mana situation. With our 3 lands. Murderous Rider it is. She is right back in the command zone. Now we do really need to draw another land. Perhaps it was better to play Cavalier of Thorns there, because Cavalier of Thorns guaranteed hits a land off of its ability, even if it dies immediately. So Cavalier of Thorns might have been good there. Alright, opponent hits us for 6. There's a land. Very important there. Let's just go ahead and play out the Bone Crusher Giant as a decent blocker. It also gives us... I was going to say it gives us a creature to tap for Caretaker, but we already have a Questing Beast, which has Vigilance. And I literally learned that 2 minutes ago and already forgot. But yes, now we have another creature to tap for Caretaker. So Vraska does cost them 6 mana, and they do have way more than 6 mana, so they could play her now. Looks like they're going for a Voracious Hydra to kill off our Questing Beast. It's going to be a trade thanks to Questing Beast's Death Touch. But they did get rid of the threat. Order of Midnight to return that Voracious Hydra back to their hand. That is pretty strong. So they can play that again when they need to. Let's trade for the Midnight Reaper here. So they don't get to keep drawing cards as they keep blocking in the future. Another land, quite a good draw. I am in need of lands right now. We'll drop the Cavalier, hoping for some more land. And there we go. Don't have any counters. I will have counters on a Stonecoil Serpent at some point in the future. As it stands right now, I think just grabbing a red-green land is going to be the best. Just the mana fixing. Excuse me. I am a little bit ill. I also forgot to grab myself a water for this video, which was a bit of a mistake. But we all... you live some, you learn some. So, Voracious Hydra's back, and now it's going to kill Cavalier of Thorns, which means we get to put anything we want from our grave on top of our library, so we could get Questing Beast back. I don't actually think that we care about any of the cards in our grave right now, though. Opponent is down to 13, so maybe we actually just want to confirm a land on top for Endrace Forerunners, but Forerunners still wouldn't be lethal. I think we can just... we can just spin the wheel and see whatever we draw next turn. This doesn't have reach, does it? No, so I'd just be chump blocking either way. Could have made a food token when they targeted the Cavalier. Probably won't matter. Voracious Hydra. 6. Got 7 mana. Played as a 5/6. I think their Voracious Hydra is just going to be too big for me here. Going to be a little too slow to follow it up. Can make a 7/7 reach protection from multicolored. That's probably actually my best play. I'm down to 10 though, so likely not going to survive. Gruul Cursed Huntsman is gonna end this game just like it ended last game. However, he doesn't get to destroy Stonecoil with it, but it is still kind of the nail in the coffin. That is straight up gonna be 2/2/2s a turn. Incredibly hard to deal with. Yeah, I may have been able to stabilize if they just cast, like, Vraska, but Gruul Garruk really adds to the board presence with 2/2/2s a turn. When you're at such a low life total as like 10, 2/2/2s is very relevant. So I think it's probably going to do it. We can cast a Nikya, but then we cast nothing else, and Garruk just gets to minus and kill it immediately. That's the other thing, is that Garruk's minus can destroy any creature. Does not have to be converted mana cost 3 or less. So we're gonna have a huge problem right now. Guess I just play as much stuff as I can. I can make a food token now. Does not particularly matter. Stonecoil Serpent unfortunately does not have Vigilance, but that would have been fantastic. I suppose even attacking there isn't great, because we just kill their Voracious Hydra. They block with Voracious Hydra and Murderous Rider, and things just go poorly on this side. If we make that attack. So here's Vraska. She's back again.
Only a fool stands in my way.
We'll see what she wants to kill. Oh, they could just sack their own wolf to up Garruk. Because whenever those wolves die, it adds loyalty to Garruk. That's the only way you can add loyalty to Garruk off of himself. You can, like, proliferate loyalty onto him, like always, but that's the only way on the card to get towards his -6. So they get to do Garruk's Emblem next turn, which, like, almost definitely kills us. I'm actually going to exile the Voracious Hydra in my hand. The reason is it's quite unlikely. It is quite unlikely, but the only way I could possibly win this game, and that would be End-Raze Forerunners being lethal. It's quite unlikely that End-Raze Forerunners will be lethal, but if it is, that is definitely the only way I have a chance of winning this game. And as such, if they attack me, I'm going to take it all. Not if they attack me for 10, but if they attack me with like the 6-7. Alright. They have a million bajillion blockers, so probably not a lethal End-Raze Forerunners. Perhaps. Perhaps it shall be. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to tap the Rosethorn Acolyte, because that is more damage. We want to tap the creatures that are going to do the least damage, so ideally we'd want to tap our Defender, but we have to tap that and another creature, so the best creature to tap here would be Gilded Goose. Yeah. I guess Gilded Goose is flying, so maybe we just tap like Immolation Shaman instead. Don't think it matters either way. Because it's not lethal. It's pretty simple math, it's not lethal, but in the interest of keeping it exciting, I'm going to click all attack anyway, because if they don't block, we'll kill them. And all our creatures have Vigilance, so there's the slightest chance that they don't want to use Garruk's minus ability until he has enough loyalty to survive. That being said, if they were worried about that, they can just block with a wolf now to get him to enough loyalty, but who knows? We'll see. Giving a wolf +1/+1 and death touch till end of turn. Well, that is unnecessarily cruel. Alright. Looks like they're actually letting me kill a lot of stuff here. Which might make me not dead on board. And raise foreigners. That's a 7/7. Yeah, we're still dead on board, because +3/+3 to all those. Oh, Stonecoil Serpent survived? How did Stonecoil Serpent survive? I have no idea. Either way, more than lethal amount of trample there. But Stonecoil Serpent surviving makes it a little bit less lethal, so that's cool.
The ends justify the means.
The Great Henge. That is a very cool card. I expect to see this a lot in Brawl coming up. This is definitely just the kind of format that that card was made for. Just really cool card. Basically a Brawl deck. Massacre Girl? To kill nothing.
I protect that which
Cool.
cannot protect itself. The land fights for us.
There's a Nissa for the uber lethal. Stop as much damage as possible here, but it will not be enough. I am nearly certain. Actually, it will be enough, but it won't matter. Oh, it won't be enough. It won't be enough. I am horrible at math. Either way, that is going to end today's Brawl video. But yeah, as I've said before, really cool format, really fun format. Super glad to have it on Arena. It is really, really nice to have a really interesting and fun, more casual format to play, so you don't have to just grind out Standard all the time. That being said, the one major downside that everyone has been talking about is, for this first week, you could play Brawl in that special Brawl event whenever you want. However, in the future, the Brawl queues to play with other players are only going to be up every Wednesday. It's a little bit of a weird decision, but the idea behind it is that they want to make sure that there's always enough players playing Brawl that whenever anyone clicks Brawl and clicks play, they will immediately get into another game. Now, what I'm hoping is that there's going to be enough people playing this Brawl launch event that they realize that there is more than enough interest in Brawl to have it around every single day year-round. I really want that to be a thing. But if not, at the very least, you can always direct challenge your friends at any time and play it at any time, including playing your cards from Dominaria and Ixalan if you're challenging friends to the format. Either way, that is going to do it for the Nikya deck and the Nikya video. I will see you all again very soon, very likely tomorrow, with another bit of Brawl gameplay with another Brawl commander. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon. I can't, it's been so long, I can't find the stop recording button. There it is!